Welcome to Center for East Turkestan National Interest podcast program. I am Nadira, your host. Since 2017, number of Uyghur women marrying with Han Chinese men strikingly increased. In abroad, also many young Uyghurs are start to marry with other nationalities. Situation of interracial marriage between Uyghurs and Han Chinese or other nationalities became huge challenge for Uyghurs' survival issues. Today, we will discuss about that with Mrs. Ruqya Turdush from Center for East Turkestan National Interest. Mrs. Ruqya Turdush?
Yes, hello. Hi, Nadira. This is very important topic to discuss. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for joining us, Mrs. Ruqya Turdush. So, my first question for you is, why so many Uyghur women marrying with Han Chinese since 2017?
Yes, absolutely. I can answer your question. But I think important part of your question is why after 2017, not before? Why after 2017 so many Uyghur women start to marry with Han Chinese men, not before? We know that based on China's household census statistics in East Turkestan in 2000, interracial marriage between Han Chinese and Uyghurs made up only 1.05% of all marriages. It's very little percentage. China has not published any further interracial marriage statistics after that, but at least I didn't see it yet. But like you said, based on social media news and the Chinese government news and the documents, we can see that interracial marriage between Uyghurs, especially between Uyghur women and Han Chinese men, have increased dramatically since 2017. Why? Because China's genocidal state policies, including forced sterilization policy, forced labor policy, forced state marriage policy, and appointing male Han Chinese cadres sleep over Uyghur home policy. All of these policies are subjected Uyghur women, targeted Uyghur women, and it was implemented in 2017 in large scale, heavy-handed and very intensive way. For example, every Uyghur woman experienced forced sterilization, and women who tried to escape these rules and having more than 2 children heavily punished, even though this policy was very relaxed to the Han Chinese population in China. And Xi Jinping allowed them to having 3 or more than 3 children right now. But it's strictly implemented Uyghur population, and Uyghur women were sterilized. That's why having illegal children is one of the main reason of China's detaining Uyghur women and Uyghur men in Chinese concentration camps. If we look at Dr. Adrian Zen's research, based on Chinese documents and the statistical data on birth rates in 2019, he reveals that 97% of women of childbearing age in Kashgar and Hotan city in East Turkestan, which is Uyghurs' heavily populated areas, could not or would not get pregnant and deliver a child. Again, Uyghur women also suffering under forced labor policy. Mainly young Uyghur women are recruited for factory work outside of East Turkestan and separated from the male population from their own community, because the number of Uyghur males who are detained in re-education camps is more than women, and not much left for forced labor, or mostly men detained in re-education, China's so-called re-education or concentration camps. And the women in outside of these camps were forcibly sent to forced labor. Uyghur women also are the most vulnerable victims of mass rape in concentration camps, and the policy of appointing male Han Chinese to Uyghur families. Women camp survivors from concentration camps reported that rape and the torture widespread in these camps, and I personally interviewed many of them. Appointing male Han cadres sleep over Uyghurs' home did not exclude the Uyghur families whose adult male household members were already detained, and that's why Uyghur women with young kids whose husbands were detained experienced terrible privacy violation and sexual abuse by those male Han cadres, and it's unbearable. All of these policies are implemented with genocidal intent to reduce Uyghur population and to destroy the Uyghur pride by destroying Uyghur women. Today, in East Turkestan, for many Uyghur women, seen that marrying Han Chinese is the only way to escape from these genocidal oppression, maybe, but marrying Han Chinese, either directly forced or indirectly forced, can be also part of the China's genocidal policies because, first of all, these women also contribute disappearance of Uyghurs since their children become Han Chinese in patriarchal Han-dominated Chinese culture. Second, these women have no power over their children, no power over their Han Chinese husband, and no power over to raise their children as an Uyghur, because these women also dominated by political and the financial power of their Han Chinese husband. So I think these are the reason why so many women, Uyghur women, marry with Han Chinese after 2017 in East Turkestan.
Thank you so much. And my next question is, many Uyghur women have posted videos on Chinese social media showing that they are happily married with Han Chinese men. Is this the kind of ethnic integration or part of the Chinese propaganda?
I can say that this could be Chinese state propaganda, because these Uyghur women directly forced to marry with Han Chinese men because of threat for re-education camp and threat for forced labor camp, or many other threats, oppressive threats. So they were scared and they were forced to marry with Han Chinese. But there's also many of them are indirectly forced to marry with Han Chinese men, even though it seems that they voluntarily choose to marry with Han Chinese men. But we believe that this is not out of law, but to ensure political and financial security. Han Chinese males also encouraged to marry with Uyghur women by provided financial rewards, including money, free house, land by the Chinese government. So just to look at the social media videos that showing happy interracial marriage between Uyghurs and Han Chinese, we can't say that those Uyghur women are willingly and voluntarily marry with Han Chinese, or they really love to marry with Han Chinese man. Uyghurs are Muslims, and based on their religious faith, it's forbidden to marry non-believers, and the Chinese are non-believers. So if there are many Uyghur women marrying Han Chinese men, that's mean they are not able to practice their religion. That's mean there's a huge Chinese state pressure over this Uyghur women.
Thank you. I would like to ask you that how Uyghurs marrying people from other nationality or ethnicity in abroad differs than Uyghurs' interracial marriage with Han Chinese in East Turkestan.
The intercultural marriages of Uyghurs in East Turkestan and those in diaspora are two different situations. First, the nature of these marriages differs. In East Turkestan, it's often a marriage between the colonizer and the colonized, marriage between enemies, actually, where dominant power oppresses disadvantaged people. In contrast, marriages in the diaspora involve more equal power dynamics between two parties. However, both cases involve religious, ethnic, and the cultural differences and many issues. In East Turkestan, these marriages are part of broader forced assimilation policy and can be seen as a form of indirect genocide. Meanwhile, in the diaspora, if Uyghur men or women adopt their partner's religion after they are married, and their partner's culture, it's more of voluntarily assimilation. In both cases, Uyghurs, as being a small nation who's struggling to survive genocide, and the preserve their culture and struggling to regain their independence, and facing significant challenges in today's world. It's not easy for them. At least in the diaspora, many Uyghur parents feel a deep obligation to prevent their children from marrying outside their ethnicity. But this is very difficult for young Uyghurs because they often have limited opportunities to connect with their own community members in the diaspora because they're scatteredly resided in many countries. It's not easy for them too.
Thank you again, Mrs. Ruqayya Turdush. And my final question is, how can Uyghurs stop interracial marriage between Uyghur women and Han Chinese in East Turkestan? And how can they prevent young Uyghur from marrying other nationalities in abroad? Thank you.
This is a difficult question. It's impossible to stop forced marriage in East Turkestan because Uyghurs have been stripped of their social, economic, cultural, and most importantly, political power. They are suffering under genocide. They have no rights at all today in East Turkestan. The only way to change this is if Uyghurs one day regain their independence. But question is, Uyghurs able to survive until that day or not? Outside of East Turkestan, it's also challenging. Since these marriages in outside of East Turkestan between Uyghurs and other nationalities are not forced and often based on genuine law, it's difficult to oppose them. You can't stand in the way of true law, right? So it's a very difficult. But to reduce the number of intercultural or interracial marriages between Uyghurs and other nationalities in abroad, one solution, I think, is to create opportunities for young Uyghurs to meet each other and get to know each other. Also, we have to educate them from a very young age about the importance of preserving their ethnic identity, ethnic culture, and the religion is very crucial. They have to learn and understand that marriage is important part of how to preserve their culture. So then maybe things gonna be easier in the future. Thank you.
Well, that's all we have for today. Forced marriages in East Turkestan are a harsh reality that many Uyghur women face, and it's crucial that we continue to shed light on these injustices. Thank you all for tuning in and being part of this important conversation, and thank you again, Mrs. Ruqayya Turdush.
Thank you for you as well, and see you again.
Yes, see you next time, and until next time, take care and stay informed.